But first, we heard some fiery opposition to Queensland's bid for the 2032 Olympic Games today. When isn't Pauline Hanson dishing out her criticisms in a fiery fashion? That's her style, and she's, of course, been appreciated for her candour. And I appreciate where the One Nation senator is coming from.
Queensland is in debt to the tune of $90 billion. It's getting worse every budget that we see. And we are talking about 12 years down the track, and I don't believe that we can afford it. So this is going to cost us, estimated around about $12.5 billion to host these Olympics. Now, where's the feasibility study, other than the fact is that we can host it? Send the Olympics back to Athens, because cities don't make a fortune out of it. They actually are worse for the wear after having these Olympics.
Well, first of all, Athens is on its economic knees. They couldn't possibly host another Olympic Games. But Pauline's always been a valiant warrior for regional Australia, which, as we know, gets the rough end of the infrastructure pineapple. And if the state pours $5+ billion into hosting an Olympic Games, well, something's got to give, and those in the bush may reasonably construe that they will miss out further. So there'll be One Nation anti-Olympic billboards everywhere. And Pauline has every right to express that opinion and do a Clive Palmer and plaster them wherever she likes. But I disagree with her on this on all levels, because one of the most significant changes to this bid that year, as a result of new rules handed down by the International Olympic Committee, is that regions, not cities, regions can also now host the Olympic Games. That changes everything for me, and it was put in place because of exactly what Pauline Hanson said. Many of the cities outside of the Western world that tended to host the Olympic Games went broke. Because in this bid, all facilities, venues and associated infrastructure will be spread across Brisbane, the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. Even Townsville will host a number of events as well. And this will be unprecedented. And as a result, athletes, diplomats, officials and tourists won't be confined to Brisbane. They won't be confined to the Gold Coast. They won't be confined to the Sunshine Coast. They'll be exposed to far more districts across the state, not just one single city. And that will be a great thing for rural Australia as well. Forget Pauline's comparison to the Commonwealth Games. There is none under this new configuration. Plus, because of the Commonwealth Games, this bid can offer 80% of its existing venues. They're already in place. Now, as for the cost, they say 5.3, let's say it blows out to $7 billion. Well, KPMG have already stated that these Olympic Games will earn Queensland at least $7.3 billion. So the worst case scenario is a break-even point. And let's not forget, once you brand somewhere like Queensland with the Olympic Games, you've got television viewers by the billions around the globe who'll look at Queensland, maybe even make plans to come down under, take in Queensland 5-10 years later. You've got to calculate that too. And the jobs created during Games preparations are enormous. And I remember in Sydney, people from all states and territories converging on Sydney because there were so many places for work to fill. And that's additional income, more spending from those people and, of course, more tax revenue. Rural Queensland will also be called on to supply produce for the Games. And you think about restaurants and retailers who'll need to meet the demand of huge crowds along the entire east coast of the state. Well, rural Queensland, you better be ready to go. But you know what? Just as we witnessed in Sydney in the year 2000, the excitement, pride and overall buzz created by having an Olympic Games and having people from all corners of the globe sharing their love and motivation for sport and hopefully sharing what we can offer here in Australia, I think is worth its weight in gold. The facilities will assist in keeping kids in that part of the world healthy as well. Queenslanders, well, you're a passionate mob, probably more passionate about where you live than any other Australians. Not only will these Games make dollars and cents, it'll take Queensland onto the world stage once again. Sometimes you've got to take a little bit of risk, spend a bit of money to make gains. And this is a wonderful new opportunity for a wonderful part of the world.